There we are. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to hear from people what the week has been like. Did anyone have a chance to go over the Sefer Chinuch that we learned? Did anybody have a chance to start reading something on their own?
Yeah, I started reading the Chachamim. What is it called?
Kosu Chachamenu?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was like you said, just to get something simple that's a nice story that's easy to read, and my wife and I read it together. She's fluent in Hebrew, so she helped me along with the words, and it was really nice. We enjoyed it.
Great. So you're just using your wife as your dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. She's
That,
making sure I'm correct. But I understood like 99% of it. So
oh,
only there's
all
like
right. So you're yeah,
very,
yeah.
yeah, very few words I didn't. Well, wasn't more of the words. It was just it was because it's not modern Hebrew. So there's just different expressions that are used uh, to describe something. Which when I read it, I read it with the understanding in modern Hebrew, and my wife pointed out that's not how it's understood in biblical or more rabbinic Hebrew.
Right, right,
So she gave me a
exactly.
lesson. Yeah. So
That's precisely what we're looking for, is that understanding,
right.
appreciation.
Yeah. So that was really good.
Does anybody else have anybody that anything they want to mention or bring up?
So I'm
Hello.
reading,
Go ahead, Louis.
I'm reading The Last Princess, and I have to use I have Hebrew above and English below from the application that was sent forth.
Hmm.
And I am having a difficult time because the English, I have other texts of the same parables, and the English, to me, is totally commentary in its translation. So the concept is, should we learn to read it with commentary based on translation, not that there's a commentary underneath, but they've changed it. Even in the application, in my opinion, they've changed it versus straight translation. So what is our goal? To be able to
Okay.
really
Um,
read it word for word and then make a definite, yeah, here's what it says and here's the commentary of what they're trying to say.
I'd have to look at the translation there to get an understanding of what you mean. In general, we're looking to get accustomed to reading this kind of Hebrew and understanding it for ourselves. If it's really a commentary, meaning adding all sorts of things that aren't in the actual text, then it's best not to refer to it. If it's just an idiomatic translation, then that's a good thing because then it helps you understand the actual intent of the words.
Well, an example, Anna Anna in the Lost Princess. What does Anna Anna mean?
Hmm.
I
What do
It's
they
one
translate?
example of kind of I went into a biblical, not a biblical, a translation um, tool, and it gave me one thing, and there was one English translation that didn't even translate it. They actually had the words "ana v'ana" because they're trying to say actually it has its own meaning. You can't be converted into English. Does that make sense?
No,
Well,
not not to me at least.
Yaakov,
Ana
wouldn't we
ana
find in
ve'ana
Jastrow?
means hither and thither, right?
Right.
It's
Would,
yep.
would that be found in the Jastro? Because you're
You
not gonna
could
find these. It's not you can't find some of these words. I mean, you're not gonna find it in a regular dictionary as specifically because a normal dictionary is just gonna give you a modern Hebrew translation. So I think you have to look it up in something else. No.
Well, that's my question. What is our goal? I'll do whichever way is proper, but I wanted to know,
Well,
because I enjoy
first
the
of
story, but
all,
what is our goal? What is our goal?
the best thing you can do is to bring it up in these meetings. Something that's not clearly say, oh, I saw different translations. I don't understand in the context what the exact intent was. The best thing to do is bring it up and ask, and we'll get to the bottom of it together. There are, in terms of the dictionary question, there are definitely dictionaries of modern Hebrew that will have a lot of archaic expressions. Ana ve'ana, I would imagine you could find in the Evan Shushan dictionary, which is not a Hebrew English dictionary. It's a Hebrew dictionary. So I don't know how helpful it'd be to everyone, but there are definitely the more thorough. It's kind of the Israeli equivalent of the OED, in that it's very comprehensive. The Jastro is a Talmudic dictionary, so it will have anything that's an ancient text that's from the Talmud and back. But there'll be things in there that we won't be able to use it for everything. So it's a difficult question to answer. Which dictionary should I be using? I'd say, use whatever you have at your disposal, and if you're not satisfied or not 100% sure you got the right answer, bring it up.
Okay. I guess my question is, what's our goal? So should we find some of this type of thing? Should we try to use the type of dictionary that will solve it, and it might be a different one with different words? Or should we just kind of look at the translation that's provided by the source?
Well, if you have more than one translation, that could be a very good resource, because that will give you different understandings. They'll complement each other. I can't really recommend any single dictionary.
Okay.
The more comprehensive dictionary it is, it's gonna be better. It's gonna apply more to our texts. That's about all I can say, I think.
I think if you want to know our goal, just make sure I understand clearly as well. Maybe it'll help Lewis understand too. Is that what we're trying to do? Is the reason that Yaakov is having us read these particular types of texts? Because I asked him, about several different, options, and he, told me that's not good, But and then I finally hit the right one, and the reason is that he wants us to be able to get familiar with a more, the more, I wouldn't say ancient type of, the original type of Hebrew that was used for the written not the modern Hebrew. So this is, and he mentioned to just get something that's, easy and fun to read. No, it's not very, a lot of concepts in there. So you just can enjoy the process of learning the vocabulary of that particular type of Hebrew, because it is different. I mean, it's a definite different. What would you call that? Biblical? It's not biblical Hebrew. It's rabbinic Hebrew, or what do you call it?
Well, it's not pure rabbinic Hebrew either, because it's a much later period. It's kind of like latter day rabbinic Hebrew.
Or maybe classical Hebrew.
Yeah, classical might also be biblical, depending on who you ask, whose definition of classical it is. But rabbinic Hebrew is usually like the Mishnah. It's regarded as the rabbinic, the Hebrew of Chazal. Whereas the Hebrew that we're looking at here is really much more recent, past 200 years. And
one of the things I know that I've I hope we'll be able to cover as well is those abbreviations is always I get stuck on those.
Oh yeah, good.
Where they're, especially in the biblical, in the rabbinic Hebrew, it's used all the time.
Hmm.
And that throws me through the biggest loop. I'm like reading along, and all of a sudden I hit one of those. I'm like, okay, what's that one? Rosh Hashanah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Resh,
they're hard
Resh.
because
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
very context dependent.
yeah.
The same Rashi Tevot can be used for a million different things depending on the context. And certain books are worse, or have harder ones, more complicated ones that they use. That assuming that the reader
Like
will
Sfas
understand.
Emetz is just full of them.
Yeah, the
It's like,
Sfat Emet or the Netziv, they have yeah,
yeah. So we'll be able to learn that too.
yeah. I mean, whenever we run into them, you know, we'll crack them open. Sure, for sure. Okay, so if nobody has any specific questions about things they ran across, except that,
Well, I do.
yeah, please.
All right. Yeah, so first of all, I did the homework like the next day on Tuesday, and then I completely forgot. So I have to be accountable to do that homework every day. But I started reading Supreme Maisiot. I've been through them before, but I understand now why reading them was so annoying to me before. The particular language, the way he told the story, and I was very happy to find it easier. But I picked out three things. I thought I would just ask you for a little bit of your insight. So I'm reading Chacham Vatam, and just at the beginning, the first sentence is talking about how the parents of the children, they started to become poor. So in the beginning of the sentence, you have liyamim hitchilu, right? Le yamim hitchilu hashne balebatim hanal lered. So you have liyamim and lered. It's like the days started to go down, and I thought that was interesting. The lamed of the liyamim and the lered has connected at the end, and I was wondering if you could say something about that grammar.
Okay, so
Like to the days, they started to go down.
yeah, there's no real connection between those two words. Liyamim is pretty sure it's a biblical construct. It means after a time, and it's just setting the context for the next part of the story. Right? Liyamim, itchilu lered.
Oh, comma.
Yeah, there's a comma there. Then they started to what's the word, to lose their footing, right, to lose their stature. So that's
So it's like Achre Hadavrim Ha'eleh, kind of.
right. Achrei Dvarim Ha'eleh puts it in context of after the previous story, then this happened, and it has to be, and there's obviously some kind of cause and effect. Here it's just Liamim, it just, skip to the next part of the story, basically. Meaning, yeah, just showing that there's some time has elapsed. That's all it means. Liamim, after a while.
All right, and then the next sentence was V'lo nishar lahem ki'im habatim shelahem. And this ki'im, like intuitively, I know it means, except for, but if you could say anything about ki'im, it's just interesting, these two words together.
It's a yeah, it means, right, it means except for, and
That's it.
yeah, I don't think they have anything else to say about it. There are a lot of little phrases like that that are they sound similar, and it's hard to keep track of them always. Like you can say also im ki, right, which means how would you say it in English? You'd say like notwithstanding. That's im ki, the same word, im aleph mem. And there's im kol zeh, which is having said that, then you go on to say something that kind of contradicts it. And there's im zot, which is also in a similar vein, like despite that. So there are a lot of these little phrases that are used a lot in modern Hebrew. A lot of them are biblical in origin, but I don't know how much we'll be running across them in the text that we're going to be learning. Another one is al kol panim, which means like whichever way or however it is, or in any case. Yeah, those are phrases that we're yeah, we'll bring them back up when we run across them. I did want to say a word about this lered, which I don't know if you picked up on, is today it's considered to be a non-standard form of the verb laredet, right? The verb yud resh daled yarad, right? To descend, we usually would conjugate it laredet in the whatever you call it, the definitive. But lered is a form that we also see in the Tanakh, and particularly in rabbinical Hebrew, but it's not accepted in modern Hebrew. It's not considered to be standard or even acceptable in modern Hebrew. And by modern Hebrew, I mean present day, post Eliezer ben Yehuda Hebrew. Whereas in latter day rabbinical texts, we see it a lot. We see that form a lot, and not just not this shorish yud resh daled, but any verb that has a yud as the first letter, what's called pei yud. There's a I don't know if everyone's familiar with this. There's a system of denoting the irregulars in verbs. Every verb has a 3-letter shorish, right? Sometimes 4, but most of them have 3. And the pei, ayin, lamed, poa. Let me just share my screen. Maybe it'll make things a little bit clearer. Cool. So if I have this poa, which means verb, right? It means verb. So when I want to denote that there's a verb that has well, let me move this over. Why can't I get that? Okay, whatever. Not letting me grab it. A verb like yarad that has a yud at the beginning is called pei yud. That's how it's referred to, as that kind of shorish. Other examples would be yashav, yashan, right? They're all called pei yud. They have a yud at the beginning, and that means that they're going to take on different forms when they're being conjugated, when they're in different tenses. Lashevet, laredet. Lishon is different for different reasons. Other words like yalad, right? To give birth, to have a child. And that's also going to be laledet. So all of these end up having the same form. Whoa. This is the form. I don't know how to move things in this thing. Here. That's the yud falls away when we're conjugating. Now, In this other archaic form, the yud remains. So then you have le red. Now, can anybody tell me a very famous rabbinic Hebrew form of this verb, not yered, a different pei yud verb that we use every year on a particular holiday? Similar to lered, but it's a different shorish, different verb. Nobody? What bracha do we say when we sit in the sukkah? Leshev. What is leshev? Leshev is lashevet basukah. But since the brachos are formulated in rabbinic Hebrew, they're caveats that it's not exactly rabbinic Hebrew, but forms that but there's a leaning towards the rabbinic forms rather than the original biblical forms. That's why we say leshev basukah, not lashevet basukah.
So Yaakov is Rabbi Nachman's story. Did he write it before the modern Hebrew gave us Leredet?
So again, Leredet is from the Torah. It's from the Tanakh.
Okay.
But Lered also appears in some places in Tanakh, and it became the dominant form later on, and then it kind of stuck in rabbinic Hebrew in many cases. The Sipurei Masiot were written in Yiddish, were recorded in Yiddish.
Right.
Originally, they were given over orally and then recorded, written down in Yiddish, and translated into Hebrew before Eliezer ben Yehuda. So, or maybe even after, but not by Breslover Hasidim that were speaking modern Hebrew. So, right. So it's taking that kind of more archaic form. And this is that's a very good example of something that we can correlate to other things that we know and that we've met and that we're familiar with, but we never knew why we do it that way. And this is a good thing to help us remember when we see that leshev, lered, lashevet, laredet. So that's a good example. There are a lot of other examples in the brachot. You can even tell at what stage a bracha was formulated by the forms that the verbs take. Like there's a discussion in the Gemara, like what bracha should you say on Pergota Ilan? You say Borei Priya Eitz. Well, what does that mean? Why is there two different words? The Chachamim were asking the question in the Gemara, they speak rabbinic Hebrew. So they say Pergota Ilan because they use the word Ilan for a tree. And all the Midrashim say Ilan. Ilanot Srak Shebe'eretz Yisrael Atidin Leotzi Gluskaot. There's this, the word for tree is Ilan in rabbinic Hebrew. In the Tanakh, it's Eitz. The word Ilan doesn't appear in Tanakh. It might somewhere, some Aramaic passage or something, but it's not the word that's used for tree regularly. And so the Chachamim ask, what do you say, what bracha do you say for a fruit of the tree Ilan? You say Borei Priya Eitz. Because the Chachamim were trying to formulate the brachas in the original Hebrew forms, which is from the Tanakh. But then all of a sudden you have a bracha that we're going to say in 2 months at the beginning of Nisan, Birkata Ilanot. All of a sudden the word Ilan comes back and becomes part of the bracha. Right? In that bracha we say, Baruch Ata Hashem, Shelo Chisar Davar Ba'olamo, Uvaravo Briot Tovot, Ve'ilanot Tovot, and they're actually, it's not even clear if Ilan is male, feminine, or masculine, we have two different versions of the bracha, ilanot tovim or ilanot tovot. Because it's not even clear, since it was only used in rabbinic Hebrew, we don't have clear examples whether it's masculine or feminine. And so you can see that this bracha is from a later period when Chachamim had kind of like adopted their own language as also being able to apply to what just happened? What just happened? To being applied to the brachot. So that's just kind of an interesting example, a number of examples you can see the shift from the biblical Hebrew to rabbinical Hebrew. And I'm glad you brought that up. So it's great when we have examples every time. The thing is, I don't have like a clear plan for how to teach the parts of Hebrew that everybody's missing, and everybody's missing different parts. And so whenever something comes up, I'm just going to jump on it and use it as an opportunity.
Perfect.
Okay, so everybody, I think we're going to stop here. We've pretty much maxed out our half hour, and please try to put in time to do your reading. Don't hesitate to send questions on the group also. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Are we meeting at 8:45 tomorrow, Yaakov? Does
Yeah.
that work for everyone?
Works
Thank
for
you.
me. Yeah, tomorrow 8:45.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Lila Tov.
Thank you.